Welcome back, fellow gamers. I want to talk to you today about the banning announcement that happened yesterday. So, in case you weren't aware, Emrakul, Smuggler's Copter, and Reflector Mage were banned in Standard. Now, this is like the first time we've had a Standard banning in quite some time, and more particularly, like this whole shakeup was done because Wizards of the Coast can see attendance dipping. Players were saying that it wasn't fun to play, and they were citing a few cards specifically that were contributing to this no fun feeling. I can see why Wizards of the Coast would do this. They want to return standard attendance rates to their normal levels or the levels they've experienced in the past several years. They also want people to show up on F&M. They want people buying product. These are all things that are contributing from the last few sets where people just haven't been having fun. And I think a lot of it has to do with, yeah, sure, the cards that were banned might not be fun with the exception of Reflector Mage. I think that was just banned because they're like, well, we're already banning 2 cards, might as well ban a third one that might be problematic in the future. But the problem isn't these creatures. These creatures are not world-beating creatures by any stretch of the imagination. I can think of dozens of cards that were better, stronger, more efficient. Maybe not more efficient than Emrakul, the Promised Land. I think that's a fairly efficient card. But certainly there are cards that have been better. And the problem in this standard environment is the fact that there are no answers. There are no proper costed answers. Everything is, if you want to play a kill spell, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, or maybe just the type of graveyard removal you might need just is almost non-existent in a lot of colors. So if you want to play a certain color combination and you go up against somebody that's playing Emrakul, well, you're out of luck. And that shouldn't be the way that Wizards of the Coast is operating. I'm okay with the Wizards of the Coast making mistakes. We all make mistakes, and if you're making a mistake, it means you are trying to push the envelope, you're trying new things, you're trying to be exciting and fresh. Mistakes will happen. Whether people are saying that it was a fail from the Future League and the developers, I don't care who failed, I don't care what was done. What I do care about is the learning. So a mistake is a mistake, it's a learning experience, but if you're not taking the proper lessons from it, that's where it becomes a problem. And I hope that Wizards of the Coast is taking proper lessons and they're really learning what Standard needs. Standard doesn't need weaker creatures, which is what I fear will happen in the future. I fear that we might see a power down even more so than we have experienced in the last few years. I hope we can actually see a power up in terms of spells. Make spells strong. Make them strong again. From that point, we can then have proper answers to developing strategies and archetypes. I'm not talking about like a silver bullet that completely eliminates a whole archetype. I'm talking about maybe throw in Naturalize, maybe throw in Lightning Bolt, maybe throw in something. I know Lightning Bolt is a very strong card, but it was in Standard a few years back. Well, I think we're talking about M12, M11. I want to see people playing Magic. And you might be saying, well, Jade, aren't you just a Commander player? I'm pretty much a Commander and Sealed player. Yes, this is true. But I'm also somebody who likes to buy cool cards. I like to buy powerful cards. I like to spend my money not on weak chaff that I'm not going to be slotting into my decks. And a lot of what's being printed nowadays is so powered down, but I'm rarely saying, oh, this card got printed that can directly replace this other card. That hasn't happened in quite some time. I remember a few years ago, like that was just the case. Every block, it was like, wow, there's so much good stuff here that I can use in my decks. I can replace some other inefficient stuff, or I build other strategies. Now it's just a lot of it's been powered down, and I feel that if Wizards were to just power up their spells, power up removal, I'm not talking about making every kill spell 1 mana and unconditional kills. I'm talking about just lay back on the actual mana costs, or include maybe a few more answers to certain cards. And I say it scares me because looking at the article, which I'll have linked below, that the reasoning for it, like just take Emrakul for example. Created to be scarily powerful, Emrakul the Promised End delivered on that promise too well. I feel Emrakul should be a big creature that everybody fears when it hits the board. And I don't think that the Mindslaver ability was necessarily the issue. Mindslaver was in Standard twice, and it never caused a problem. It was costed to be pretty expensive. You'd have to spend pretty much 10 mana, and it was a legendary artifact, so it made things that couldn't copy it that well. But there were ways to get around stuff like that, especially, in a Scars Mirrodin block where there was a lot of artifact removal. You had the ability of just getting rid of it if somebody had played the 6 and wasn't able to play the 4. So the issue here isn't Emrakul being too strong. Emrakul should be strong. She's the strongest Eldrazi Titan. She's one of the strongest villains, in, if you can call Eldrazi villains. I don't particularly think Eldrazi's are villains, but that's a discussion for another time. What I do think, though, is that if you're saying she was too strong and now we're going to make, in the future, another version of Emrakul, but it's going to be a complete hoser, nobody's going to want to play it, that's the wrong way to go. The right way to go here would have been to include answers. And that's where they go with the next line. Emrakul faced too little resistance and ended games too easily. Well, she faced too little resistance because you did not place enough countermeasures for somebody to prepare against an Emrakul and then not be able to act on it. And yeah, she ended games quickly because there were just so many ways to play Emrakul. So maybe you look at Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. Look how big of a creature that was. And look, yeah, Emrakul the Aeon's Torn was played in older formats and is crazy good. Is banned in Commander, even though I still play it. To me, that card was perfect. It really showed, the first time I played it, everyone was like, what the heck is this? And that's the type of thing that should be emulated with these types of cards, these Eldrazi Titan cards. I love the story of Magic. I love the villains they've created. I love the creatures, the heroes, everything about it. But to neuter them going forward will be completely devastating, at least for me from a flavor point. It might even get to the point where, why would I buy these new cards? Like, look what happened with Ludwig. He got a card in Commander and nobody liked it. Nobody's playing with them, or if people are playing with them, they're trudging on regardless. You get creatures that are tied to the story. You need to make them powerful. You just need to include answers. Now we look at the reason for Smuggler's Copter. They're saying it was just too efficient of a creature. Well, yeah, it's, look at how good that card is in the environment. There's not much artifact removal. The creature removal is too expensive by the time this has gone out. You've pretty much attacked a few times. You've filtered. You've done a lot of stuff. I don't think Smuggler's Copter is a world-beating card. I don't think it's a card that will flat out win you the game as you play it. What it will do is that if you can't remove it, which under the current circumstances is very hard, that's where the problem lies. That's where the problem lies, and Wizards needs to realize that removal spells, again, I'm repeating myself, that's where Wizards of the Coast needs to go. They don't need to power down cards. And I understand, you want to make Magic fun. I totally get that. But when you try to make it so that everybody has fun, nobody has fun. This is a game where there's a winner and a loser. The winner, unless you're crazy like me, I don't care that I lose, isn't going to have a good time. The person losing, no matter what they do, they'll have wanted to walk away with a win. But in a game where there's a winner or loser, you need to address the fact that not everybody's going to have fun 100% of the time, and you trying to make it so that everybody has fun will lead to nobody having fun, which is what happened in Standard. And quite frankly, I was going to go into this in a separate video about just gaming in general. I think that in gaming in general today, there's that struggle to attract new players. Card games are competing with board games are competing with card games, they're both competing with video games is competing with Netflix. There's so much focus on people's entertainment these days that it's hard to say, hey, try this out, because there's so much available. So you want to attract new players, and you want to keep those players. I get that. I get that you try to make it so that everybody wants to play your game. If you are so concerned about somebody leaving the game because their creatures get Doombladed, or they have a lightning strike that's been played against them, and that you're concerned that they're going to leave the game because of things like this, they're going to leave the game eventually, regardless. They'll find another reason to leave the game when something does go wrong, whether it's a string of bad games, they don't top deck their favorite card, they haven't seen their favorite card in a few games, they'll eventually leave the game. Gaming companies need to stop pandering to the lowest common denominator. People who are easily upset, people who will quit a game after they have experienced a few losses. Those people aren't what's going to bring you money. What's going to bring Wizards of the Coast money and other gaming companies is when you deliver something that's special and unique, and then from there you keep on delivering. You keep on giving them what the players want. Players have been asking for a long time to get good removal. You haven't given it to them, and that's where you guys have gone wrong. And I'm saying you guys as if Wizards of the Coast is listening to this video directly, which is highly improbable. But regardless, I just hope that that's the lesson they're learning. I hope that they see that they need to include removal into the game. Players want to play with removal. They want to be able to say, I've thwarted your plans and providing players with tools to win and not just tools to play your strategy but not be able to counteract somebody else's. So you're essentially just sitting at the table waiting for a person to win, will not grow attendance as has been seen the last few standard seasons. We've seen a decline, and that is the reason. Strong creatures aren't the reason. Weak spells are. I'd like to know what your opinion is on the situation. What do you think of the bannings? I could imagine if you're playing standard, you pretty much said thank God Emrakul was banned, but what do you think? Do you think that standard needs stronger spells? Do you think that creatures like Emrakul shouldn't be printed, period? Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, you can check out some of my other videos. You can also subscribe, which helps the channel out, no doubt, but it also lets you know when we go live during our live streams and when we upload new videos just like this one. Thank you for making me a part of your day, and until next time, good gaming.